Hey everybody, this is a special type of video since I normally have like vlogs and stuff on my channel, but I wanted to do this video for a few different reasons. The video before this one is a tiny bit heavy, and I understand that, and I wanted to release something a little bit more light and fun and easy, and I've also been getting quite a bit of questions actually about like how our relationship functions with my anxiety. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, not because people are like, how could anybody live with that person? But normally because they actually live with someone who has anxiety, and they just ask questions about how you can help that person get through their issues. And I thought, you'll know the answers.
Yeah.
Or you won't, and you can commiserate.
I'll have answers. I don't know if they'll be relatable ones, but...
That's true. That's a totally fair point. Let's get started.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Feeling good?
I have a dog on me. Sorry.
What's up?
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm much more lifeless on this channel than I am on our other one. I
Why?
just don't have as much energy, I feel like, in your videos.
Oh, see, I feel like
Which I
that's totally
apologize
untrue.
for.
I end most of my videos with little clips of you being as you as possible. I feel like personally you have a lot of life on this channel. I meant to put on makeup. I feel like I look like a bald baby from over here.
What?
Can you tell I have eyebrows?
What?
I look like a tub of mayonnaise.
What?
So I have some questions. First question, Kyle.
Yeah.
Describe our relationship in 3 words.
I've always been terrible with these
are
kinds of
always-
questions.
Everyone is always pretty terrible, but the question is to
I put too much pressure on myself.
Right.
Let's see, off the top of my head, I would say fun.
Okay.
I want to say like casual, which I don't know if that sounds romantic, but it's kind of an important
one of the
aspect.
words you would use to describe our relationships is casual. I think that's
Yes.
fair. I know what you're trying to say.
It's hard because I can't, limiting it to one word
I don't like
lacks context, but it's but yeah, no, I mean there's something like I don't like neither you or I have to put on like a performance around each other, like from the start, from when we started being friends. Third word would be, I don't know, maybe just supportive. Like I mean that's one of the really important things for me is I feel recharged when I can talk to you about things, and when we're alone together and we're around each other.
Yeah. No, actually, so when I think about answering the question, I 100% am all in on fun and supportive. Trying to think of a third one. I don't even disagree with casual. I think it's kind of a good one because I know what you mean.
Maybe
when
not
you say
be maybe not be the best one.
I'm like leaning towards quirky even. We are strange. We're a strange.
Everybody is though. Everybody always talks
That's
about like
true.
I'm so weird. No one's gonna like me. Someone will like you. Everybody's freaking weird.
Oh, I think we're likable.
This always seems like a concern people have when they're talking about getting into a relationship with people, or like I mean even you've done this before. You were like, yeah, I wasn't gonna act like that around you when we first met.
No.
And I was like, but you could have. It wouldn't have made a difference.
I feel like at this point in our relationship, when I just like screech from across the house, I feel like on first date, perhaps just screeching is not the correct way to respond.
Sure, no, it's not a first date thing, but I guess it's just, you know, be aware that whoever it is you're talking to they are as weird as you are. They're just hiding it too. McCree, why are you in the laundry?
He's just sitting in all of the clothes.
Look at this loser.
McCree!
What are you doing?
No shame.
Dude.
Is there, or do you feel like there is an imbalance in our relationship with you not having anxieties and generally not suffering with a lot of mental distress most of your life, and me being a relatively high anxiety person?
Ever thought about it that way?
No?
No.
Do you think about it now that I've mentioned it?
Imbalance in what way? Like,
Maybe that the relationship doesn't feel balanced, or that someone is giving more than someone else is giving. Perhaps we don't play equal roles in each other's relationship.
no, I don't really, I mean, if anything were to do it, I don't think it would be that. I think I have my own stuff that I deal with, and you help me through that, and I help you through yours, and yours is definitely frequent, I guess. I don't know, I've just never really felt like it was something that, like, I don't feel like you owe me because you have anxiety and because we have to, you know, make adjustments for that.
So how would you, if you had to give advice, how would you offer advice to other couples or relationships that feel like there is an imbalance?
I would suggest looking at other places and seeing if there's an imbalance somewhere else, because I don't think it should feel like there's some kind of an imbalance in that way. I think if it feels like that is causing an imbalance, that it is actually being caused by something else. It might be that you aren't putting in the effort to handle it. We've actually talked about this before.
Yeah.
It would be very different if you were having this problem and you weren't doing anything about it. Then I would feel like there was some kind of an imbalance.
Do you ever feel like a caretaker of sorts?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Never on the whole, just like, for tonight or something. Yeah, I'll accept that is just sort of the role I need to fill right now to make sure that you make it through to the next day. But again, you do the same for me when I get overloaded and stressed out and my brain snaps in half.
It's really crazy. I can see your stigmatism, and it always weirds me out every time, because it's when your eye's not round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You look up and I can see where your eye just flattens out.
That's weird.
It's weird. You have I
didn't know that.
When someone looks up, you can see how their eye curves and stuff, and you're just it'll curve and then you'll move and it's just flat. How do you support an anxious partner?
Give me hard questions.
These are hard questions. Well, so
making me think about stuff.
I feel bad because I kind of wish that I could add a bit more to this. We could sort of have our own video where we kind of discuss how this functions together.
Yeah.
But a lot of these questions are really heavy on the side of being the partner.
Right.
And while I help you with a lot of your anxieties and depression as they come, it feels like a very different role to me, because your anxieties as they come are very normal.
And I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for or a good one, but I guess the biggest change for me has been I for a long time, most of my life, was used to things just kind of being really uneventful and the same and easy every single day.
Yeah.
I would wake up, I'd have a plan, I would do exactly that plan, the day would end. Everything would be 100% anticipated. There weren't any wild cards being thrown in at any point.
Yeah.
Since moving out of my parents' house with you, I don't think that has ever been the case since then. My biggest adjustment has just been learning to be more flexible, just dealing with the fact that hey, what I think is going to happen today might just not, and something else might happen instead, because
that's true.
Allison may have an unpredicted panic attack suddenly, and
sure.
I'll have to focus on that, and we may have to drive somewhere, or something may change. And it gets better over time. There was definitely a period of time where neither of us had any idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So it was definitely unpredictable there.
Yeah.
At this point, we understand it enough that we can usually rein it in, and so it doesn't disrupt the day as much. In fact, you can handle yourself a lot of times.
So I guess, yeah, I do kind of want to ask about that, about things like trips and going and doing things, and how it changes a bit of the freedom, I guess.
Sure.
And I think that probably other people in relationships similar have that issue, which is do you ever build resentment? How do you keep yourself from feeling discouraged when trips or plans or events go wrong because I end up having a panic attack or feel very uncomfortable about something or whatever?
Yeah. Part of it is just being prepared, kind of like what I was talking about.
Just a mental preparedness, or?
More than anything, yeah. Just being mentally prepared that it may not go the way that we're planning for it to.
But actually, as you say that, we also very much physically prepare for events differently than we used to now. Because now I have a series of different things that I basically need to bring on different trips. If I get migraines without having my migraine sticker out or certain medications, we'll have a way worse time. And it took a few trips where I didn't have those things for it to be a massive issue.
Yeah.
Or other trips where I don't like being at top rooms in a hotel. Now we know that if we have a preference, we be on a lower floor because I don't like, something about fire safety.
Yeah. For the most part, it's just a trade-off. It's just making sure that we know that we're doing that for the sake of the rest of the trip going smoothly, and we can, make it work out.
Sure. How do you deal with the discouragement or the resentment of things changing dramatically because of someone else and their mental state?
I never feel resentful.
No?
I always know that you're never because you're not doing it on purpose, and I know you're not doing anything on purpose.
Sure.
So I'm never angry at you. It's definitely disappointing when it happens, and I don't really have a way around that.
Yeah.
Even now. There's just some things that we can't really do, and I don't know, it's just something that I just kind of have to accept that that's the case.
Sure.
I decided that you were worth that at one point, and I still feel that way.
Those are all really good answers. I think they're really honest and important. And okay, so, and that's honestly probably one of the bigger questions, is just how do you actually be supportive of someone going through this type of anxiety? Like, specifically now, with all of the coronavirus stuff happening, what are things that you and I do, and specifically you do, to help support me through all of this?
Well, so I feel like this is a different kind of situation, actually.
Wait, you mean pandemics don't regularly happen for us to offer this advice?
It was harder when it wasn't a pandemic, but you still were aware of it. Because then it's the usual thing of like you have to offer this whole explanation, kind of. It's like no, we're not leaving the house, or we're trying to avoid doing these things because we're worried about this potential thing happening. Right. But now everybody's on the same page, so it's like, no, I'm not going to get close to you or leave my house or anything. You shouldn't either. I'd say there is a weird kind of like social pressure for me generally in having to explain why we're doing things certain ways sometimes. Yeah. Just because I'm not good at, I don't know what it is. It's not like a peer pressure thing necessarily. It's just like, it's like extra work. I just have very limited like social battery, I guess. And so if it's like, you know, why aren't you going out tonight? And it's like, well, it's because Allison's having a panic attack, but I have to explain what that is and how that works. And because I know most people don't understand how panic attack works, is actually what it is. Yeah. So that's why it's much more comfortable. Like we can tell Ian and Rachel, we can be very honest with them about things if we're unable to do something because of your anxiety, because they get it. Yeah. And so I don't have to explain it. Yeah. But like it's harder, I feel like at least that it's harder to explain to my parents why we're not doing something, or why there's like certain requirements to us doing something, because I don't feel like they get it as much. I might be wrong. They may actually be way more accepting of it than I understand. Mm-hmm. But in my head, they don't get it as much, and it's like a whole thing to have to explain why this isn't happening. So now that the entire world is in lockdown, none of that exists. So it's actually way easier to deal with.
So if I could specify it a little bit, one of the things that you do that is specifically very supportive of me is you help communicate to other people about it. Because sometimes when you're having the anxiety,
I'm sorry that I have to be the one to do that for you.
Well, I appreciate it a lot though, because when I'm having my anxieties, there's a lot of guilt and pressure tied into the fact that things have changed and they're my fault. Sure. And I know that you don't view my anxiety as my fault in the same way that someone who has it feels like it's theirs. And so one major thing that you do is you often are able to relay that information to other people. And that's a massive supportive element for when I'm having issues, is that Kyle is a voice for me when I feel like my voice is weak. You're honestly just, it's actually just support. You choose to support me rather than discourage me from like being anxious, or say things like get over it, or can you just deal with this one thing this one time. You've never said anything like that. It's always been you validate the fact that I'm having my anxieties and you allow them to happen, meaning that you don't actively try to force me to behave otherwise, and then you explain to other people that this is something you value enough to not make me uncomfortable. And I think that those are really big elements to supporting a partner who has anxiety.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I just don't understand how it could work otherwise.
Because you do the similar things for me. If I'm being overwhelmed, you keep the outside world at bay so that I don't have to address anybody or deal with that in the moment.
But, so if I'm having, like let's say I'm in the middle of a panic attack, what are steps that you take to help with something like that? What is your thought process when you realize that that's something that's happening?
It's kind of gone, it's bounced around a lot over the years, because we've been trying to figure out exactly what works and what doesn't. Yeah. Usually I try to focus it on the fact that you're having a panic attack now more than anything. I used to try and tell you that, like, I used to try and argue against the symptoms, I guess, and try to point out, like, you know, but, like, how could this be real if this is happening, or things like that. I don't think that actually works, because I think you're too good at at arguing back.
You're right.
At least
you're right.
against, at least to yourself.
Yeah.
So I try to focus more on things like, this is a panic attack, and you're making this bigger than it is.
Mm-hmm.
It might be based on real things, but it's being blown up. It's temporary is a big one. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't going to keep lasting. If you just wait it out, you will see that it feels better.
That is a big one.
I can't convince you right this second that it's not real, but if you just wait a little bit, you'll start seeing that it's not. Sometimes distractions usually help too. They're harder to do, but sometimes I can take you to a different room, or the whole point is that you're focusing too much on it, and that's what's making it worse than it is.
Yeah.
So if I can explain that to you, have you wait or distract you with something else, it will usually go a whole lot faster.
How do we both handle having anxieties at the same time?
Not well.
Really, I feel like we're okay-ish.
Do we? Does anyone? I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's
Well, so I can offer some input in this one. I guess what sort of ends up kind of happening is we both just care about the other person enough to kind of swallow whatever anxieties we are having, and then it just comes down to taking turns freaking out. Really, I mean, almost realistically, it's like you have 5 minutes, and then I have 5 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes, and then I have 5 minutes, and we just have to sort of wait out, that process.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess.
I'd agree with that.
And sometimes it's hard because sometimes it's days long. And so what ends up happening is, like, Monday I feel bad, Tuesday you feel bad. On different days we basically just nurse the other person back to a mental state where they can wake up the next day and take care of the other person. And I don't know if it's ideal or if it's even remotely supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
But it's what we end up doing because we both care about the other person enough that we just sort of have to do it that way. And it's really hard when it lasts
We're both
days.
usually pretty aware that the other person is also having problems at the same time,
Right.
which I think is important.
Right.
And yeah, I think you are right that we kind of like, both of us kind of have this same sense of prioritizing the other person over ourselves.
Right.
So we do end up just kind of taking care of each other.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you deal with feeling unqualified to help? Because I know that you've talked about this in the past, which is that your inexperience with anxiety, your inexperience with having it, or anyone else close to you having it. What advice do you have to offer to other people who feel completely unqualified to help their partners?
I think I just focus on the things that I can do. It's kind of similar to the past, the kind of similar to what I said before about what I do during your panic attacks. I had to stop trying to argue with you.
Yeah.
Because the really annoying thing really early on is that she not only has these panic attacks, but she has way more medical knowledge than I do because her mom has that experience and has told her all of these things.
Right.
And you have experience being the patient for a lot of your life.
Right.
So I just, like, she would say things that she was worried about, and later it would turn out those things aren't even true, but I didn't have a way to argue against you because I didn't know any counter facts to throw at you and try to slow you down.
Right.
So I had to stop. I just had to figure out other ways to help because it was like I'm never going to know enough information to like assuage your fears.
That was a really interesting answer. I wasn't sure what you were going to say to that one because I've never really asked you about it, and I've never I don't know, I had thought about it before because I feel like it's probably something that a lot of people run into.
Well, because there's only two options, really. It's either get good at it or figure out a way to go around it. And I went with the second way because I knew I was never going to match you in the understanding of the things that you were worried about.
The last question. Is anxiety the worst thing about me?
It's an interesting question.
It is. It's a loaded question, too. I'll admit it. But
I think it's probably the worst thing for you.
What do you mean?
I think of all of the things that you have, all of the, I think of all of the problems that you might have, anxiety is doing the most damage to you, which is the thing that I care the most about. I think if that were gone, it would clear the way for you to address anything else that you might have. The problem is that it just makes everything really uncertain. It interrupts daily life. It distracts from other self-improvement that maybe you could be making as a person.
Sure.
It clouds your judgment and your ability to understand things because, is something really wrong or am I just anxious? I don't know. It's a big roadblock. It's a really big inconvenience.
Yeah.
I think it is the worst thing about you for you. It impacts me because our lives are very tied together.
Yeah.
But really, it's a very internal kind of struggle, and I think it's doing probably the most harm to your development compared to anything else.
Okay, but on a scale of like never leaves the bed to go get you water at night and constantly have my clothes all over the floor and anxiety, where do all these things line up in terms of things that you think are problematic about me?
Well, I mean, I think the anxiety again is just in the way. It's
Sure.
hard to argue about other things when that's there because it just interrupts things. Like it's hard to make progress on stuff if you're just sick all the time. You know,
Yeah.
It's hard to. I mean, because you do leave your clothes on the floor a lot, and you could not do that.
Yeah.
But I can't always gripe at you about it because sometimes you're just feeling like garbage and it's not really a good time. So.
You can gripe at me when I'm not feeling bad about it.
I know. Also, those things aren't really like interrupting our lives in the
That's
same
true.
way. So
That's
like you're comparing minor annoyances with like a mental illness, which just isn't really a fair comparison on any scale.
Reasonable to point that out, yeah. Yeah. And I apologize for us continuously looking over at this screen. It's mostly
We're both camera people, so we're
Right.
both like staring at the shot constantly.
It's to make sure that the composition isn't crazy, but also that we're in focus because autofocus is an unreliable thing. I wish it was more where you guys are.
It's more
so that it
reliable
doesn't
than me
look-
setting the focus. I've been less
It
worried
is.
about that than
It is.
than
Yes,
normal.
that's true. Also, if you move too much, dog will fall. Well, I really appreciate you answering all those questions.
Yeah.
We've been getting these questions on the channel, and I thought this would be a fun video.
Yeah, I didn't know people were actually asking these. I thought it was just
It was
something
like
you
2
wanted to go
people,
over.
but I thought
Okay.
it was legitimately like kind of just worth bringing up. Every time I've met people who had anxiety, I've always been a little bit curious about how their relationship functions. Because it just doesn't function. You can't just have a relationship and that not be an element of it.
Well, and I've talked about how it doesn't really feel unbalanced to me, and that if it does, I would expect it, like, I would assume it was a different reason. It was additional
Sure.
things on top of that. But if you are in a relationship with someone and it feels highly unbalanced and it feels like way more than you can handle, I don't think you can't ask someone to deal with that if they don't feel like they can either. It's not anybody's responsibility to deal with it any more than it's your fault that you have it. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely it is a mutual decision of like, this is something we're going to deal with together and this is worth dealing with.
Sure.
And I very much feel that way about us because everything about you is 100% worth dealing with your anxiety.
Aw.
No question.
It's because my hair is great, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm actually going to do a separate video on showing some of the videos I've been in and the behind the scenes of my feelings of a lot of those videos, because
Okay.
what's been interesting is a lot of people have been commenting on the channel like, oh, you're the chick from Dorm, like I've seen you in a lot of Door Monster videos. I had no idea this was going on, and it's jarring to see this side of
Right.
like people who I feel like I've
But yeah,
had
'cause
a
they don't
relationship
know.
with. No, they have no idea.
They've seen us on set at most, but they don't know what our day-to-day lives are or anything.
Yeah, and I actually feel like that's a really important part of addressing some of my anxiety personally, but also to you guys. Like, I have 4 years on the channel where none of this is visible. And so I did want to go through and just sort of remember some of those moments with you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd be up
About,
for
like,
that.
good news about it is that, despite my anxieties, my life still goes on, my job still gets done. I have an incredibly supportive team behind me who are willing to take time to make sure that I'm capable of doing these things. But my life obviously has not stopped. It has not been disabled or crippled because of my anxieties. And you guys know how bad they can be. And I think that sometimes we just need to be reminded that despite all the anxieties you see on this channel, there's a whole other channel where none of that's even close to surfacing.
Right, yeah. All that still
So-
gets made, so it
And
doesn't...
yeah, we feel differently. He doesn't feel like anxiety is a massive part of who I am. I feel like anxiety is probably like 70% of who I am. But at the same time, I also feel like I am fun and funny and
Yeah.
enjoy doing a lot of things. And because of that, I feel... the good news is I don't feel like a split person anymore. I used to feel split between someone I wanted to be and the anxious person I was
Sure.
now. And I'm beginning to realize I'm all of them. And that's good because it gives other people hopefully the inspiration to feel similarly, which is that you're all of the good things and you're an anxious mess. And that's okay, because people are going to love you and they're going to work really hard to make sure that you feel comfortable doing all the things that you want to do. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really, really appreciate just taking time to hear Kyle answer some questions. I threw some big ass questions at Kyle, so very proud of him for rolling with the punches. He's obviously amazing, and we all know that. We're all here. I mean, all of you guys are here because Kyle told you to be here. Kyle is a national
you
treasure.
You might have some of your own by now.
That's true. I hope so. But Kyle is a national treasure, and I'm glad you made a guest appearance. I regularly post little clips of you at the end of my videos anyway. I know. Because you're adorable with your chicken and your singing and any other thing you might happen to do. Thank you guys so much for watching. The next one that comes up, I don't know what the next video is actually going to be, but I'm excited to have this one released. And obviously leave a ton of comments, more questions, anything that you wanted answered that I didn't ask. Or if this did answer some of your questions and you found this even remotely helpful, let me know. I fully plan on responding. I do also see every single comment left on all my videos. It's getting a little bit harder. When there were 100 of you and 20 comments, it was a little easier to respond to every single one of them. Now that there's almost 800 subscribers, thank you guys so much, it's a little harder to answer every single comment, but I see all of them. My goal is to like all of them so that you guys know that I've read them. And I discussed them with Kyle. They are not unseen and they are not unhelpful. They are always something that I take very seriously. So leave some comments. Thank you for watching. We will see you around. Bye.